Today I'm going to read from a recent volume by Isabel Galleymore called Significant Other, and Isabel's kindly given me permission to read from two of her poems from the book. And as you'll see from the cover, when I saw this in the bookshop, I really fell for this rather cheeky and provocative cockle, which is from a 19th century natural history image. And Galleymore writes about a variety of animals in this book, but my favourite poems were the ones about the sea creatures. So she has poems about starfish and limpets and barnacles and cockles and whelks, which are really a delight to read. So I wanted to share two of those with you today. And the first one is the starfish. The starfish creeps like expired meat, fizzy-skinned, pentamerously legged. Her underfur of sucking feet shivers upon an immobile muscle, whose navy mackintosh is zipped against the anchor of this fat paw, this seemingly soft nutcracker who exerts such pressure until the muscle's jaw drops a single millimetre. Into this cleft she'll press the shopping bag of her stomach and turn the mollusk into broth, haul in the goods and stumble off, leaving a vacant cubicle, a prayer come apart. And I think what a fantastic opening line that is. The starfish creeps like expired meat. And I think what she does so well is to capture our ambivalent feelings about such creatures. It's a revulsion that is at the same time also thrilling. I think that fizzy-skinned captures the fizz of excitement, and pentamerously legged suggests something also a little bit sexy. And those two compound adjectives, where she kind of puts the two words together in a dash, to me also showcase Galleymor's inventiveness, the need to conceive of new ways of seeing these potentially unloved sea animals. And the careful patterning of vowel and consonant sounds gives the poem a real precision. Immobile muscle and mackintosh, we get the M sounds, and we get the kind of precise P and F sounds of zipped and fat paw, and I think it creates a meticulous sense of movement to the poem. And she also employs the imagery of human clothing to comic effect, so that muscle has a navy mackintosh zipped tight, the starfish has a shopping bag of a stomach. And I think the humour of those images works both to enliven our images of our picture of the starfish, but I think Gallaymore's aim is also to move beyond cliched ways of seeing animals and of what the book describes as trying to get away from foisting human agendas on non-human worlds. And I think almost the silliness of those images simultaneously challenges the way that we impose our own meaning on animals. And Galleymore doesn't sentimentalise. I think we get the intense pressure, and it's almost a kind of horror story of the starfish as she'll press the shopping bag of her stomach and turn the mollusk into broth. And the vacant cubicle that we finish with, the vacant cubicle, is just that, but it's also a prayer come apart. And I think that image of prayer coming apart to me signifies both the meaning that we wish to find about ourselves when we look at animals, but the futility of doing so at the same time. And in the 19th century, natural historians like Philip Gosse, who's the author of The Cockle on the cover, find evidence of God's design in the evolution of animals. But here, Galleymore collapses that possibility, but at the same time celebrating the unique existence of the starfish. And I want now to read Goose Barnacle. An enamelled flower bud, a locket made of shell, a lacquered fingernail tree-housed upon a wormy stalk that wags as though to say, not quite, or not exactly so. And this is only one of what's a fishy copse, undulating back and forth as in a gale, and asked what land they grow upon, they'd likely say no land, and asked whose hand they reach like fingers from, they'd likely say the hand of some stray branch that, dipping in and out of water, persuades their beaks to open, their feeding limbs to royally wave. And again we get an array of inventive images, enamelled flower bud, locket, a lacquered fingernail tree-housed upon a wormy stalk. And I love the way that image moves us, like Starfish, from the thrill of something beautiful to something that's potentially horrifying or that we might find a little bit disgusting. And I think the unusual use of tree-housed as a verb, I think works a little bit like the compound adjectives of the Starfish, and I think she's great at repurposing words in this way. It reminds me of the poet Robert Browning also. And that use of tree-housed pivots us from the human image of a painted fingernail to the less appealing wormy stalk. And in this poem, the barnacle answers back by wagging as though to say not quite or not exactly so, as if to remind the poet that she cannot find an image that will exactly match it. And the barnacle also responds to her questions by refusing their terms. So asked what land they grew upon, they'd say no land. And to the poet's image of them reaching from a hand, they return her to the randomness of a stray branch that feeds them. And I think that final image of their feeding limbs that royally wave both somehow dignifies the barnacle and gently mocks our own cultural practices. And I think we will all be able to have an image of that royal wave in our minds. And so again, the sea creature eclipses our need to understand it through our own meanings and remains purposefully itself. And I think the book as a whole moves between these dynamics of documenting, allowing these creatures to speak back and the poet to listen to them. And on the other hand, the making of poetry, the joyous inventiveness of metaphor and image that brings them to life so vividly on the page.